Hey guys, Nick Dabas here with Adorama TV. Today we're checking out something really cool from DZO. It's the Arles primes. They cover VistaVision, T1.4, and they're all exactly the same size. Now, what's really unique about these lenses is the characteristics. I fell in love with them because I didn't feel like I needed to put a filter in front of them. They gave me this modern but vintage vibe that really looked awesome, and the color tonality that you get out of them is really cool. I figured why not pair these, since they're VistaVision, with the Mini LF in OpenGate. I did all my lens tests in OpenGate, but shot a small silent film. We just went to a shipyard and we decided to walk around and get some shots. So now, what struck me the most is the fact that these lenses have 16 blade irises. At this price point, with the quality, the mechanics, the way they open up to 1.4, that give you a really good 1.4. It has very little to no chromatic aberration. Didn't notice any sort of breathing. And the one thing that I loved about them is the way that the lens falls off. At this price point, you really question some lenses. With these lenses, they offer really, really high quality lens, but it's not overly sharp or clinical. They also feel to me as DZO's trying to appeal to like the modern commercial market, but also give somebody a vintage vibe, but not too vintage. They have like this beautiful roll off. Like you'll see in the test, we had like this beautiful halation around the subject, and also when I pointed the lens directly at the Fresnel, gave me this like beautiful glow. Something that you would get from like a black satin or a glimmer glass, which to me feels like I don't want to put any sort of filtration on these, which is unique, because for the most part with these digital cameras, everybody's trying to like dumb it down and sort of like take off the sharp edge, and you feel like with these lenses, they're really unique in that sense. And I want to just point out that with these lenses, I ended up going with a Nanuk case. This case is awesome. It's carry-on, and I felt like what a great case to put these lenses with. It has like really cool padding. I'll show in the video. So these primes are all the same size. They share a 16 blade iris, and they're roughly about the same weight. Obviously, you're gonna have lenses that are heavier because of more glass, like the 100mm. So for the first test, I decided to do a very naturalistic light setup, sort of like somebody sitting by a window and they have like a soft daylight push coming through the window. And for the background, I flicked on and off a 500-watt Fresnel, which simulated any sort of flare or bounce onto the person's, the back of their head. I just wanted to simulate that to see how these lenses handle flares and any sort of light coming in from the back. Now, I go through with every single millimeter, going from 25 all the way to 100. And the one thing I noticed is, for one, these lenses match perfectly. They also all share very, very similar characteristics, whether it's flare, chromatic aberration, breathing, and mechanics are all the same. So switching lenses on and off is extremely seamless. For the second lens test, I decided to add a tungsten push. Also, we added a lamp, and we switched the direction of the Fresnel to showcase more flares, more intense backlighting, to just also see how good these lenses handle backlighting. And I wanted to see if these lenses actually flared up more than normal. They handled it very, very well. The flare is really like a whitish, bluish flare. And the halation around the light is whatever you kind of throw at it. So if you're daylight balance or tungsten balance, you're gonna get that same color cast. So I really like that when lenses do that. That's very neutral to me. Now for the daylight, I wanted to test out, number one, distortion control to see how it distorts, seeing how much contrast, how much flaring this lens gives you in daytime light situation. So this, we ended up white balancing and giving the most neutral look. This is also all Rec 709 coming straight from the Alexa Mini LF in open gate. So we go through from 25 all the way to 100, showing off a T2, which is giving us a decent amount of depth of field, but also showing off how these lenses look with the face during a daylight push. And to me, they feel very neutral, but also giving you this very vintage characteristics, but not too vintage. It, to me, feels like, it almost has like a beautiful neutral rendition, but also there's something blue about the flare when it hits the sun, but not too blue. It's very, very subtle. So it's really, really nice. I like this. And I actually fell in love with this look on these lenses. I was quite impressed with also the breathing. I was also impressed with the reproduction of skin tones on these lenses. They seem very neutral, but also not too sharp. When we go back into the studio now, I went through with showing off more backlighting. I also pointed the light at the Fresnel to show the halation that I'm talking about, and also the chromatic aberration. You don't get that much chromatic aberration, especially the amount of backlight that I'm trying to simulate here. The subject still remains very neutral, so I like that on the skin tones. And we also pointed the flashlight from the iPhone to simulate that blue flare that I'm talking about that you're getting. It's really nice. Also, what I noticed is in certain instances, you would get a rainbow flare and a red ring around, depending on how the light actually hits this lens. Now we go back into my house with a neutral daylight coming in through the window. There's no artificial lighting here. This is just, I move fairly quickly and I try to simulate every single millimeter at the kitchen table. I wanted to show the light hitting the copper table, how this lens reflects backlight, chromatic aberration on the hands, and then the pen and stuff like that. So to me, it performed very well. I was very impressed. And what I've noticed also is the amount of distortion that this lens, it handles really, really well. So very impressed with this situation. Also, close focus is amazing on these lenses. And the way that it handles color, daylight and tungsten, it's really impressive. Now at night, I'm shooting at 1600 ISO. I'm backlit by a bunch of string lights and a couple lamps. And I showed off the breathing. You get these really beautiful looking out of focus and interesting bokeh in the highlights. And this is really nice. I noticed that they have a little bit of chromatic aberration, which is like this reddish look to them. And I thought that it handled very well. The coverage is really good. You don't get any vignetting on these lenses. Now we jump outside to the silent film that I'm talking about that I did with my buddy Rob at the shipyard. Just the 25 and the 75. We had to move fairly quickly because the sunset was moving fast and it was just him and I. No modifiers, no lighting. This is straight out of camera on all these tests, except the stuff in the studio. I really wanted to show off what these lenses can do. And believe it or not, I was extremely impressed. The price point is insane. I was wowed by the look, the coverage of these lenses, and just the size, you know? VistaVision lenses are normally big. They're also very heavy. To me, if you're used to Sony FX3 lenses and zooms, yeah, these are heavy. But if you're used to production lenses, these are actually not heavy. They cover a 95mm front, so very universal for matte boxes. They cover an 86mm front filter, so it's very universal. User interchangeable lens mounts. They come with shims. The caps are really cool. They're really nice build quality. While I was using them, I had a lot of fun. I don't want to give them back personally, but I have to, unfortunately. So that about wraps it up. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe to Adorama TV channel to see more videos just like this. This is Nick Dabas. I'll catch you next time. Peace.